Thank you very much, Satish. So hopefully you didn't actually turn your phones off just then, because I'd actually like to start with a short quiz. Now, if you're in my Insights presentation, I noticed a couple of slides there. I got that last time, actually, when I did the second quiz. And the reason why I want to do this one, though, today is a little bit different, because there's so many options when it comes to customising ArcGIS. So hopefully you see from the presentation that I talk about a lot of the different options for customising and extending the platform, but I focus on one in particular. So I'm trying to land right in the middle of where I think people in the room will come from. And what I mean by that is you can customise ArcGIS without doing any development. You can customise ArcGIS by completely building something from scratch, or you can extend and customise ArcGIS in the middle with something like Web App Builder Developer Edition. So that's what we'll be looking at in the demonstration, and the quiz will lead on to some questions that get into that space. So if you could open up the browser on your phones for a second. It's only a short quiz, just one question and 60 seconds. And the game pin that we're using today is 375856. So if you just pop that into the browser on your phone, you don't need the Kahoot app for this one. It's only a very, very short quiz that we're going to be playing, so you can see people entering the game. Let's have a look at some of the names coming in. I think I mentioned in my previous presentation that one of the names that I got was I'm so bored in one of my previous presentations. So I had to just take that on the chin. I thought that was pretty funny, to be honest. But it was also an I love Esri, so I thought that was pretty good. Trying to gauge how many people are in the room. The Dark Knight. Near mapper. That's good. That's good. Some good ones there. Let's see. I'll wait till we get to 50. It's hard to gauge how many are in the room. Maybe we might not get that high. Alrighty. Let's get started anyway. Other people can join the quiz as we move on, so that doesn't matter. Okay. So of course the questions relating to extending the platform. Pretty easy question. I think most people will get it, but I just want to lead on from that. So we've got 60 seconds. What method for customising ArcGIS requires no coding? So how can you go and build an app with ArcGIS, share that app out through your organisation without writing any code? So this one's for the non-developers in the room. So a lot of people will probably get this one. We've got 4 options: Web App Builder for ArcGIS, ArcGIS API for JavaScript, ArcGIS Runtime SDK for .NET, or the ArcGIS API for Python. Answers are almost in, so I think everyone's finding this one pretty easy. So when the answers are complete, the quiz will finish. So there's still a couple of more people to complete their answers. Have a guess if you're not sure. Just a little bit of fun, this one here. 10 seconds left. There we go. And there's no surprise there. That's really good. Most rooms got that one right. It's Web App Builder for ArcGIS. Just a couple of people there have got that one wrong. So that's really good. So I might get you just to pop your phones away for the moment. So the reason why I chose this particular quiz and a fairly easy question is because Web App Builder for ArcGIS is a really important method for customising ArcGIS and extending the platform. It provides a host of templates, themes and widgets where you can go and build a completely custom-looking application for your department or organisation or company, put your logos in, change the styling, change the widgets that are included, and publish that out without writing any code whatsoever. So a really, really powerful app, and I guess everyone in the audience probably understands that. But what I would like to talk about is that what I mentioned before, that application or that next step when it comes to developing and customising the platform. And that's Web App Builder for ArcGIS Developer Edition. So that's what we're looking at on the screen right now. It looks just like Web App Builder. It'd be quite hard to know that it wasn't really, looking from where you're sitting. I've got 2 apps sitting in Developer Edition. A couple of quick facts regarding Developer Edition. It's a completely downloadable SDK, so it's a software development toolkit. It can be configured to run with ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. And it runs in the Node.js JavaScript runtime. So for people in the audience who don't know what that means, basically it just means it's self-contained. So it's an app you can download it to a laptop, download it to a server, build out applications, have a look at the look and feel of the app, then publish it out. Now, the important reason why it's good to extend the platform with this method is that you get to leverage from all of those themes, templates, and widgets that go into Web App Builder. And that's where you start to leverage from the Esri WebGIS development framework. And you'll hear me talk quite a bit. You'll hear me keep mentioning that Esri WebGIS development framework, because that's the important takeaway from today's session. The way you can leverage that to build apps that look exactly the same as web app builder apps, but with custom capability. So an example of that, you might have heard in the introduction there where it was mentioned that I've worked in local government, a little bit of work with state government, federal, and now onto the national security space. So what I've got here is a completely custom application, just called it the Defence and Intelligence app. But I bet a lot of people in the room looking at this application would struggle to really see whether or not I've used Developer Edition or just straight up Web App Builder to build the application. And that's because I'm leveraging from that WebGIS development framework. So I've got the same look and feel with the app. It looks just like a Web App Builder application, the same type of zoom and pan features, the same background, the same tools for accessing data, legends and layer lists. But then I've got some custom tools up the top here. So I've got a tool that undertakes distance and direction analytics and a tool that undertakes a coordinate conversion. Now those tools do exactly what they say, but they are custom widgets, which are now available in Web App Builder itself, but previously weren't. So I've gone and extended the platform past its default capability to provide a specific task or specific controls to the users within my organisation. Now, I'd just like to have a quick look at where those particular tools actually come from. We'll go through adding a tool in a minute. But those two widgets that I've added in, I refer to them as tool, but they're widgets. The two widgets that I've added in actually come from a product from Esri known as Military Tools for ArcGIS. Now, you might be sitting in the audience going, oh, that's great. You know, why are we going through a scenario that's so defence-focused when we're not all defence people in the room? The reason why I wanted to use this as an example is Esri are actually using their own philosophy, their own methodology for extending the platform to create custom tools. So if you have a look at the front page for Military Tools, the product page, Military Tools for ArcGIS is a collection of mission-focused enhancements to simplify the defence and intelligence workflow. So the reason why I'm emphasising that is all of you in the room can follow the exact same methodology that Esri is using here to create completely custom apps by writing out widgets to meet specific user needs, ensuring that your clients and your users have the same look and feel as they move through apps within their organisation, but then specific tools to meet their needs. Okay, and if you look at Military Tools for ArcGIS, Esri have done a couple of pretty smart things. So in defence, ArcMap's heavily used. So the tools are provided in ArcMap. ArcGIS Pro is now being used more heavily. You can access the tools there. But of course, in a lot of environments, you've got your enterprise GIS users. It might be an intelligence analyst, or think of them as a simple data analyst. It's the same thing. Those people can actually access the tools through widgets. But you can see there on the screen that you require Developer Edition or Web App Builder for ArcGIS Developer Edition to deploy those widgets. And there's a simple guide there on how to deploy those widgets, and we will follow a step on how we do that. But what I'd like to do now is actually introduce a bit of a custom scenario. So it's great that all I've really done so far is show a couple of different products and how they can be configured together. But what if a new user requirement came in? So my users are defence and intelligence users, intelligence analysts, think of them as data analysts, and they've said I want a new widget, just one more button in the application that undertakes proximity analysis. So the widget itself, when I select the widget, I want to be able to pick a point on the map and see areas that might be affected with a particular blast radius or something like that, for example, so proximity analysis. Well, in that example, I've actually gone out to the open source GitHub page. Now, I'm not sure how many people in the audience will be aware of this, but the Esri Solutions team, from time to time, actually open source widgets that have been built and are repeatable and are reusable. So if you jump on the solutions page, you'll see that there's a host of widgets that you can go and download, completely open sourced, and that you can implement within your applications. Now, one of the benefits for the developers in the room is you might find a widget here that almost meets your specific need, but not quite. But you can download the widgets up here, have a look at how they're built, have a look at the services they're using, and reuse them to build your own widget that meets a specific task that you need. So you can see there where I can go and download a zip file to get all of those widgets. But the widget that I'm in particular need of is this bomb threat widget just here. So if we go and have a look at the bomb threat widget, we can have a look through the features and requirements for it. But there's also a list of instructions which basically run us through how to install and configure the widget. It's quite easy to do. You basically upload a couple of geoprocessing tasks which push some demonstration data onto your server, and you can go and have a look at how that was built and architected. So let's have a look at that in action. So now I want to get that widget straight into my new application that I'm building. Now to do that, it's very, very simple. I simply download the zip file we were previously looking at, jumping onto the server where I have ArcGIS Enterprise implemented. All I have to do, and it's super simple, is basically extract the zip file in the folder where Web App Builder is looking for its widgets. So that's all I have to do. Go and find the folder. It's on the C drive in this example, Web App Builder ArcGIS, client, widgets, place the bomb threat widget there, restart the JavaScript runtime from the Windows service in this example, and then that widget will immediately be available for me to add into my application. So let's have a look at how easy that is. So now I want to go into my Web App Builder Developer Edition. I want to configure the application itself, and this is where you'll see that WebGIS framework that I keep referring to load up. So all of the templates, all of the themes, all of the styles that you're used to seeing, very hard to tell it's not even just the standard Web App Builder and ArcGIS Online, they've loaded up. Now adding in my widget, incredibly simple once again, go and pick the location where I want the widget to exist, pick the widget that I want, and add that into my application. Now that's great. I've got the tool to meet my specific need because I'm still running within that Node.js runtime, the developer edition of Web App Builder. I can go and test the app, make sure my users are happy with it, get some feedback. I could send that out to the audience if I opened up access and you could have a look at it and do some testing. But what about that scenario, that real-world scenario, where we've gone and built and tested our app, we've gone and added in some custom widgets to meet specific user needs, but now we need to take that app and go and deploy it into our production web server. So down in federal government, where I come from, the most common web server that's used in our environments is Microsoft Internet Information Services, or IIS. So my need now as a creator of the application, as a developer, is to take that app and deploy it into IIS. So all of my users are using the same access point that they use to access their enterprise deployment or their other applications. Now to do that, it's very simple. Developer Edition gives you the tools to do that out of the box. So all I need to do when I'm finished building my app, I'm happy with the widgets, simply download the app itself. You'll see there that it gives me a zip file. Really, really simple process like what we just previously looked at with the widget. I take the zip file and I copy it physically to the server. So I've got a folder here called IIS deployment. It can be any folder on the server as long as you have read-write privileges. You extract that zip file out to a folder, and you can see where I've got all of my application files within. And then you jump into Internet Information Services and simply add that application, putting in the variables to that folder. And there you go. It's literally as simple as that. So you've taken the application that you've built, say, for example, on a laptop or on a disconnected environment, and you've put it up into your web server, and now your users can access that point across the same mechanism that they use to access enterprise or their portal deployment. But let's have a look at the application in action. Okay, so moving to the application itself, you can see there, it might be a little bit hard to see on the screen, but you can see that the app is now deployed into IIS. There's no port number, so we've removed it from requiring the Node.js runtime. Completely self-contained. You can see it's got that default look and feel, so it looks exactly like all of the other Esri apps within the environment. Doesn't look like someone else has gone and built it from scratch and published it up. So I'm leveraging from all of those tools that you get, the standard capability, the standard themes, the standard widgets, but now I've got my custom widgets. So I've got the distance and direction and coordinate conversion coming in from military tools, and I've got my proximity analysis or bomb threat widget ready to go. So let's have a look at that widget. So the demonstration data exists in Naperville. So we'll go to that location. And in this particular scenario, we're concerned with an area just outside of the city centre. So I'm going to select that location on the map. I can select the particular threat type. In this type, the intelligence or the data is indicated as an SUV van type. I can pick the location on the map, and then I can run the tool. And you see there that the tool itself is returning quite a bit of information. It's returning affected infrastructure that's in a possible blast radius. So you can see here that there's infrastructure within a possible blast radius, and there's infrastructure being the Napa Elementary School, which is very close to a mandatory evacuation zone. So that's meeting that custom need that my users have got there to do that proximity analysis. And then the tool itself is also returning demographic information that relates to those proximities as well. Now, once again, I do realise, and I'll talk a little in a moment about some other examples. I do realise that in the audience you might be like, yeah, that's great. It's good to see how you can add in those widgets, but this particular demo is not related to myself in my working environment. But what I'm really trying to highlight here with this demonstration is that by using this approach to build your applications, by using Developer Edition to extend the ArcGIS platform, you're actually future-proofing your applications. And that's really important. So me being someone who comes from government, I remember how difficult it was to get JavaScript, .NET developers who knew geospatial. And if you did, you went and built a completely bespoke application. You would decide how the user experience would be, the look and feel. Those days are gone. Certainly even in federal government, even in the biggest federal government departments, the budget isn't there to do that type of development work anymore. So that's where Developer Edition steps in to future-proof the apps you're building, have the same look and feel, and leverage from that huge investment that Esri puts into developing the framework and the platform. Okay, so I've got a couple of important slides to run through before we go into questions. So I wanted to show a couple of other examples, a little bit more related to maybe more of the audience, and I just grabbed these online. The great thing is there's more and more examples coming out, and I had a look at some of the stuff that Gert from Esri Inc. showed, the 3D guru, and some of the stuff that Queenstown Council is doing is quite amazing as well. But City of Newcastle have built an app in Web App Builder, so no Developer Edition, the standard look and feel, and it's just to present the Wickham Master Plan and how it affects the city centre. And you can turn on proposed buildings, you can have a look at the app itself, and you can see how they're extending the platform without even using Developer Edition for ArcGIS. Now, the solution mix today, and we do have enough time to have a bit more of a look at that, everything's being powered by ArcGIS Enterprise 10.5.1. The server itself sits in Microsoft Azure. So I will, because we've got the time, I will give the audience a bit of a look at that. And I think it's something that's very powerful if you're someone in the audience that's considering moving to the cloud. So to deploy ArcGIS Enterprise into the cloud, and it's the same in Amazon Web Services as Microsoft Azure, it's very easy. So this is my Microsoft Azure portal. I log straight into the portal. It will pick up my username and access. I move down to the marketplace. Okay. I'm already within the marketplace, actually. Type in ArcGIS. Oh, okay. I'll have to just, I have to just move that for a second. I can see it now. Okay. I type in ArcGIS, and you can see there's a host of options there for deploying the technology. I want the latest version, 10.5.1, and it's got the template there ready to go. I simply select Create, and that pushes ArcGIS Enterprise straight into the cloud. You pick what region you want. In this example today, I picked the US West Region 2, and that's because I've got access to more infrastructure there. You could pick Australia, you could pick Singapore, you could have a disaster recovery in Singapore, all of that just through a configurator. Absolutely amazing technology for getting up and running. Same thing's available in Amazon Web Services as well. Okay, so moving back to my presentation. So that's Microsoft Azure. You can see that I'm using Developer Edition for Web App Builder. I've got military tools coming in from the Esri product, and I've grabbed the bomb threat widget from the Web App Builder widget gallery on the solutions, on the Esri Solutions page there. Okay, it's not working. Okay, resources. I think we've got a little bit more time, running short of time. Okay, my favourite part about resources for developers is the fact that developers can do so much to get started without necessarily coming to Esri for advice. So you can go up and sign for free, you can go and start developing apps straight away, you've got a host of documentation to get started, access to APIs and SDKs. One of my favourites that I'd like to mention is Developer Labs. Now, the reason why I like to mention Developer Labs is because going back to my story before, I was leading a team. I found it fairly easy in the particular department I was in, to get JavaScript or .NET developers. I found it very hard to get geospatial Java or .NET developers. That's where this could come in and be really, really handy for anybody in the audience who's got the same problem, because that runs developers through things like styling web maps, working with 2D data and 3D data, all just in a 10-minute tutorial online, can look at it themselves in their own time and get up and running with the platform. Okay, you can see where you can access Developer Edition from that same site. You can see where I've got a link there to the solutions page for the widgets. You can actually Google GitHub Esri Solutions and that page will come straight up. Now, training, you've got a host of options when it comes to training as well, from sharing content on the web, the most basic training, using things like Web App Builder and Story Maps, to more advanced developer and application runtime training as well. So really, when it comes to training, you really need to probably jump on the website, esriaustralia.com.au, or email training@esriaustralia.com.au and pick the course that's relevant to you. Okay, now almost finished for the day, almost time for questions. There are many, many ways you can extend the ArcGIS platform. We haven't even talked about App Studio for ArcGIS. So that's a method for creating cross-platform apps. So an app that works on your iPhone, that works on an Android device or a Windows phone in the same manner. That's what you use that for. Of course, we could go into more detail around APIs and SDKs. But I hope from this presentation you can see that when it comes to extending the platform, there's a world of possibilities. And the possibilities are endless. So it's really, I would say the onus is on us and yourselves to always gauge your requirements from your user base, and to make sure you're picking the option that best suits your user base. And if you're having problems with that, just come to us for some assistance. Alrighty. Thank you.
Questions, please. Okay, I have a question for you with the widgets. How would you develop a bomb widget?
Okay, so the bomb threat widget itself was built by a developer, so it's authored in JavaScript using the JavaScript API for ArcGIS. Yep.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Another. Yep.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you meant by future-proof.
So future-proof, really what I mean by that, so the problem that I saw in government, or experienced in government for that matter, is that you develop an application and then technology, obviously over time, will change on you. So your access to technology, the underlying server infrastructure, investment in user experience will change dependent on company or the application environment you're working with. So what you're doing, what I mean by future-proofing, is when you use this type of method to extend the platform and build upon it, you're reducing the risk of building an app that won't be relevant in a short amount of time. So that's what I'm really trying to say. So you're building an app that's leveraging from a framework that someone like Esri Inc. spends a lot of money developing to ensure that it looks and feels a certain way, looks and feels the way users expect it to look. And then you can leverage from that to ensure that as you move forward with your apps, that they're relevant and using the right technology moving forward. Yeah. Yep.
If the source code was available on GitHub?
I believe it is, yes, but if you're having any problems accessing it, I actually know the developer who wrote the widget. But I believe that, yeah, it's up there as well, so you can see the source. But I'll check that out for you. Pop up later on and grab me and we'll have a look at that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Okay then, thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you.
Just a reminder,
Yeah, is that Microsoft Azure there as one of your hosted services?
Sorry?
Is that a hosted service?
We have an Esri Australia hosted services team. So if you want to place ArcGIS, if you want to effectively buy ArcGIS Enterprise as a product, that's hosted within Australia, you can use our Esri hosted services team to do that. They predominantly use Amazon Web Services to host the technology. But yeah, that you can come to us to host the applications, yes. But that example wasn't. That example's just using some Azure infrastructure that I've got access to.
That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you.